Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Rachel, and in today's video I'm going to be recapping what happened yesterday at semi-final 1 and then giving you my final semi-final 2 predictions. So my predictions are based on ranking the songs from 1 to 17 based on how I think the jury is going to score each one, and then adding that alongside with the televote from 1 to 17 and creating an average, just like I did with my semi-final 1 predictions. So if you want to see my reaction to the semi-final 1 results, you can find that on my channel page. I might have been a bit crazy in that video because I scored 7 out of 10 in my predictions, and I was surprised at 3 of the qualifiers that went through. So I'm aiming to get a more accurate result this time for semi-final 2. At least 8 would be fantastic, but anything less than that, I'm still happy, because if I get about, 4 or 5 of these correct, that will be great. It's a very difficult one to call, but it's one of those things. So let's start by having a little chat about semi-final 1. So in the end, 3 countries that I thought would go through didn't go through. So let's discuss those. Firstly, we've got Albania. So Ronella Hayati with Sekret, she opened the show, she did a fantastic job. Unfortunately, the camera angles were a little messy at times, and you could hear the pyro. The pyro was actually overpowering the sound quality, so you can't hear the vocals too well. And it just, in the end, didn't quite come together to create the best finished product. And looking back in retrospect, I can see why this didn't go through. I'm disappointed. I think if they kept a similar format to how they did things at Festival of Kengesh, I think they might have qualified, but they might have kind of tried to do too many things all at once, and it all didn't quite gel well enough together, which is a shame. But I hope Albania come back next year and keep trying. The next one was Austria. So I was a bit surprised that this didn't go through, because I think it finally all came together really nicely on the night. The vocals sounded fine. There was no issues in terms of the backing singer being louder than Pia Maria herself. I thought she delivered quite a good vocal. I thought Lumix did a good job as well. He brought some passion and energy on the stage. They both looked like they were having a really good time, so it's a shame that they didn't go through. But I wonder if it was quite borderline. So let's look for the split results when they come out. And the other country, which was more of kind of a wild guess for me that didn't go through in the end, was Latvia. I expected them to go through because I thought they had quite a cheeky song. I thought people might have voted for this in quite big numbers, but looking back, I wonder if the juries ranked this really low down and maybe the running order killed its chances. It was dead and buried because it was in the second slot. I don't know. It's a shame, because I think City Jenny brought something really diverse and interesting to the competition. They were great sportsmen. They just seemed to really enjoy the competition itself. And just a brief mention about Slovenia here, because Slovenia is in my top 5. And I was devastated that they didn't go through. I think they are just the most charming group of young musicians. They're so young, so talented. The fact that the press in the press room ranked this last and gave it 0. What are you doing? 0 points. 0 points for one of the best written songs of the year with the best chord progressions. What are you doing? It just makes me angry. It makes me want to just throw something. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, freaking do better. Oh no. Oh, was a random act of aggression there that almost matched Marius Bear throwing his microphone down on the floor for a song that's trying to target toxic masculinity. Yeah, sorry about that. Outburst. Over with. Okay, so I've got that out of my system, but I still feel upset for Slovenia. And if they got 0 points in any half of the vote, I think I might throw a tantrum again, because it's just upsetting to see quality music not being celebrated enough at a song contest, That's how I feel. You'll probably disagree with me. A lot of people don't like this song. That's it. So that's my little review of semi-final 1. So let's move on now to my predictions. So I've calmed down. Okie dokie. So let's start with the qualifiers. So the first song, the song I think is going to win this semi-final based on my rankings, is Poland, Ochman with River. So I think he's going to get second place with the juries and first place with the televote, overall giving him a winning slot in the semi-final. So it's a great song. I think it's got appeal for both halves of the vote. A lot of people have been laughing at these graphics, saying, oh, it's a little bit like a Bollywood drama, and you know, I myself see that, but I think what it does with those graphics is it brings something really unique. It's going to stand out so much from everything else in this running order, and I really do think they're going to get a great result and they're going to absolutely sail through to this final. Of course, Ochman provides just fantastic vocals. He really stands out from everyone else with this operatic voice, and I think a lot of juries, especially juries that are in kind of the over 50 category, might really go for this. That's how I feel. I think this is winning the semi-final as of today. Second in the semi-final is Sweden. Cornelia Jacobs with Hold Me Closer. Sweden are coming to get their best result in a couple of years, I think, back in the top 10 for sure in the grand final. So I think this is going to win the jury vote, and it's going to finish in third place with the televote. So this one has got all the ingredients to stir your emotions. I reckon both halves of the vote will really go quite big for this one. It's got a really good spot in the running order, a memorable staging concept, so I reckon this is going to do really well, and I'm rooting for it quite a lot. So I hope to see this in the final, and yeah, well done Sweden once again for sending something that's quality, that's really suited to the contest, and you're not going to be disappointed with your result, I think. And the country that I think is also going through in third place is Serbia, Constractor with Incorpora Sano. So I reckon that the juries will put this in about 8th place and the public will put this in 2nd place. So this one is wacky, it's interesting, it's got a really unique core message about it, which is so different from everything else, and that's why I think it's going through. Despite being third in the running order, which seems to be an interesting slot to be in, I reckon this is going to be remembered by the end of the show. It's a talking point. It's going to get people tweeting. It's going to get people talking about the contest. So this will go through, but I do think not as convincingly with the juries, because they might not connect with it. They might see the vocal range as a bit tight, a bit too low down in the female register. But I really think the televote will give this so many points that it's sailing through to the final. They've got the benefit of having Montenegro in the semi-final too, so they're going to get an automatic 24 points, I reckon. And that's not a criticism at all, it's just me being kind of realistic. So I do think Serbia's going through, and they're probably going to get a really good result once again. Number 4 that I think is going through is the Czech Republic, Wiadomi with Lights Off. So televote 4th and jury 7th, so overall qualifying in both halves of the vote. This one really sold me in the rehearsals. Those strobe lights, those interesting backdrops, great vocals. It seems that the lead singer has full control over her voice. It really just looks great on stage. It's going to come alive, and I think it's going to be really well remembered afterwards. It's going to be one of those songs that we remember from 2022, I reckon. Electronic music doesn't do too well with the juries in terms of an average, thinking about other songs that haven't done as well as we've expected, but I do think they will still get a lot of love, and closing the show will be a great spot in the running order, and they will be definitely picking up some maybe 8 points in the televote, so that's really good. 5th going through, in my opinion, is Estonia, Stefan with Hope. 5th in the televote and 6th with the juries, pretty much matching in terms of points, I reckon. So I think Stefan brings such a great energy and presence to the stage. I really think his song is simple, it's hypnotic, and it's got a really good hook, and it hooks you in for a long time to finally get to that chorus which explodes right at the end. He does have a slight detriment with the sun being kind of very much there and present in the backdrop of the stage, which is a shame, but I do think this will do well in both halves of the vote. I think people won't notice the sun too much, only fans that know that it's broken, for instance. So yeah, I'm excited to see how this one does, and I think Estonia are coming back to the final after missing it last year, and I reckon they will do really well with the juries, so that's pretty good. The 6th country I think is going through is Australia, Sheldon Riley with Not the Same. So in terms of the split vote, I reckon he's going to get 3rd place with the juries and 12th with the public vote. It's a little bit more of a gap here. I wonder if I've put them a little bit too low with the public vote, but I'm trying to be kind of more cautious about this one. It's early on, It's really well performed, it's dramatic, it's passionate, but I wonder whether the public might not connect to this as much as the juries. That's just my gut feeling, but the juries will give this so many points. His vocals are almost perfect. He provides emotion, rawness. It will grip people, and I do think it will have enough points to go through. Australia back in the final. Next country in 7th that I think is going through, and I've always been convinced it's going through since I first heard it, is Azerbaijan. Nadir Tamali with Fade to Black. So in terms of the split vote, televote 10th and jury 5th. To me, this screams a jury 5th place. I don't know why I feel so confident about that, but I think it's because of the vocals. The way the vocals soar up to that climatic finish, that kind of last 1 minute of the song, is so spectacular. By the looks of it, the staging is very intimate, it's dark, it's very kind of contemporary. I reckon it will stand out despite being 4th in the running order. So I do think it will qualify just with the public, and then the jury marks will be quite enough to make it comfortably qualify in 7th. So that's where I am right now with this. If it doesn't qualify tomorrow, I will be disappointed and I will be a bit surprised, and I'd like to see why it didn't qualify, but I do think it's at this point in time safe. An 8th country that I think is going through is Finland, the Rasmus with Jezebel. So I've put this as a jury 13th place and a televote 8th place. The reason why there's a bit of a gap here, okay, juries might mark this down because of the vocals, the mixing, and the way that they don't have too much energy on stage. This is a well-known band. You'd expect the performance to be a little bit more lively, a bit more gripping, and it just appears that they are not putting their 100% into this performance. And that's why countries like Czech Republic, who are really giving it their all, might just outshine the Rasmus in this case. So that's where I am. But I do think on name alone they will get televote points. It will bring in a whole new audience to Eurovision. People will be switching on their TVs to see the Rasmus open the show. I'm a little bit cautious about this one because we saw how Albania didn't qualify last night in 1st when they opened the show. This is opening the show as well. May it not qualify? I hope it doesn't non-qualify, if that makes sense. But it could be one that shocks again. We're probably going to get some shocks. So I'm not confident very much about this one, but let's see what happens. And in 9th, I've got, and this is a little bit of a risky one, I guess, Romania, WRS with Yamame. Televote 6th, jury 14th. Overall, kind of leveling out to about 9th, so just sneaking through to the final. So this one I think is a bit risky because I've always had it borderline. I've never had it comfortably in, but after looking at some rehearsal footage and hearing some live vocals of other countries, I just feel like this one might sneak through in the end because they really have a good overall package on stage. They've got a really good dance routine, it's well choreographed and a very catchy hook. So I do think it will be enough to really get a good televote score with this. They've got a lot of friends in the semi-final which could potentially give them points. But I do think a jury might not push this as much up in their rankings, maybe 1 or 2 points here and there, because of how simple the track might be. It's got this kind of double chorus, so he spends a bit of time of this song not actually singing, so they might not reward that. We'll see. But right now I'm locking it in as a qualifier, so if they do qualify I will be really happy because Romania have not been in the final for 5 years. So could this be lucky number 5? Let's see. And now we're going to move on to my non-qualifiers. So let's start with the country that I think is coming last in the semi-final, and in this case it's North Macedonia. And I think North Macedonia, Andrea with Circles, is going to get rock bottom televote in 18th and rock bottom jury in 18th. And I feel bad about putting this right at the bottom, but like I said in my other video, in the grand scheme of things, when you put everything into perspective, this one is not going to push to qualify in any circumstance. The staging looks bare, it doesn't give enough for you to vote for it, and the vocal performance is pretty good. That's the only redeeming quality. Running order doesn't do it justice, and I just think it's going to get completely lost, which is such a shame because when I first heard this, like I've said so many times, that opening really hooked me in when she starts singing in a beautiful contralto tone, and it just from there goes downhill because it never builds, which is a shame. Let's see what happens, but as of now I think this is coming last in the semi-final. In 17th place, which breaks my heart so much, is Georgia, Circus Mercus with Lock Me In. So televote 16th, jury 17th. I love this song, but will other people love it? I'm not sure. It's very quirky. I have put it very low down in the televote, but I could be completely wrong, and this could be pushing for quite a few points. People might really fall in love with this, but I'm trying to be cautious, and I don't think that many people will vote for this, especially in the juries. I just get this feeling they're not going to do well. Even though they qualified in 2016, surprisingly, this could be a surprise qualifier again. But I want to get more predictions correct, and I just don't at this moment in time see this qualifying. But I am looking forward to seeing the live performance of this because it is a personal qualifier of mine. In 16th place, unfortunately, is Malta, Emma Muscat with I Am What I Am, televote 17th and jury 9th. So we all know that Malta do really well in the jury votes. That's why I've made this a jury qualifier. I reckon she's going to get quite a few points because she does have a really stunning voice and she knows how to do a good live performance. But I think what will let this down is just the song isn't that great, to be honest. I don't think many people they'll listen to it, they're not going to hate it, they're not going to think it's a rubbish song, they're just not going to think it's a great song, and they're not going to vote for it. And Emma Muscat is a big star in Italy, but Italy aren't voting in the semi-final, so that kind of lets her down a bit. So unfortunately, I don't think Malta's going through, but we'll see what happens on the night. In 15th, I've got Israel, Michael Ben David with I Am. So televote 11th and jury 15th in this case. A lot of people think this might go through, but I'm not convinced. It's very early on in the running order, slot of death. After seeing Latvia NQ last night, I don't think the second in the running order for this semi-final's going through. I reckon he'll get a couple of points for his singing. He is a great singer. He's a great personality on stage. But overall, I just don't think it's strong enough to go through. If it qualifies, that would be fantastic. But yeah, I'm just trying to be safe in this case. 14th, I've got San Marino, unfortunately, Achille Lauro with Stripper. So I put him as a televote qualifier in 8th place, but a jury 16th. A big gap. I just don't see a juror ranking this very high. The vocals are very performative. There's a certain quality about it, which one person could argue is very kind of rock star. He's performing, he's trying to have this sexy sounding voice. Other people might argue that he just is not singing very well. And that's why I'm torn, because I do think a televoter will look at this performance, see the spectacle of it and be like, I'm voting for this. And that's why I think it's qualifying in that half. But I don't see the juries qualifying this at all. I reckon the juries might look at this and just think, no, no way, which is such a shame. Yeah, so that's where I am with this. Unfortunately, I don't think San Marino's qualifying, but we'll see what happens. 13th, which also breaks my heart, is Montenegro, Vladina with Breathe, televote 13th and jury 11th. So this one is on the cusp because I do think her wonderful live vocals, her singing abilities will be rewarded by a juror, but I do think it might get lost in this running order and not quite push enough with the televote. They'll probably get a few points from Serbia, some other friendly countries in the semi-final, but I just don't think this is going through, which is such a shame because it's arguably Montenegro's best entry ever. It's got passion, it's got a good flow, good energy, good songwriting credibility in there, but I just unfortunately don't think it's qualifying. Missing out on the final in 12th is unfortunately Ireland, Brooke with That's Rich. Jury's putting this in 10th and televote in 14th. So we know that Ireland don't do too well in the televote in the most recent years. They have to kind of pull something out the bag to get a televote qualifying mark like they did in 2018. So this one is quite difficult because it seems to me like they've brought a good staging show. They've improved from the national final and they're using good pyros, and it seems like Brooke is commanding the stage. She's owning the camera. You know, that's really, really good, and I'm really happy for them, but I just don't know if the televote's going to push it through. They might get points from the UK. You never know, I might pick up the phone tomorrow and vote for Ireland. So yeah, I reckon they might just qualify with the juries, but then when you add all the points up, it's just going to miss out. So now we've come down to my final two countries. So as you've guessed, the two countries left, one is a qualifier, one isn't, is Belgium and Cyprus. So In the end, when I've added it all up, both of these countries got exactly the same score, which is really annoying. So I had to make a snap decision, and I've decided that the country who's qualifying to the final tomorrow night is Cyprus. Andromache with Ella. And the country that's just missing out in 11th is Belgium. Jeremy McKees with Miss You. So this is really tricky because Cyprus has brought a really good staging concept. But does it look popping on camera? I don't think it does. There's too many block colours. There's not enough light on Andromache. But I do think the song is strong enough to go through. I think they will just about creep in with the televote in 9th, juries in 12th. So her vocals sound really, really good. But it's more, is this a captivating stage show and is it captivating enough to qualify? So this is going to be interesting. If this doesn't qualify, I reckon it's because they're in 11th. It's on the border. So I do want them to qualify. We'll see what happens. And in the case with Belgium, I've just had this on the border for weeks, and then I've been hearing the rehearsal footage and the vocal just doesn't quite match up to the studio cut, which is unfortunate. I think he's going to get a jury 4th place because they will appreciate at least the vocal agility, maybe some of the musical ideas. Televote 15th though, because I do think the staging isn't captivating. It doesn't stand out enough. And they haven't just brought anything to the table. They haven't brought enough to the table to qualify. That's how I see it. When I watch this, I feel underwhelmed. And it's so upsetting because I can hear the quality of this in the studio cut. But yeah, when you bring it to the live stage, it just doesn't quite hit hard enough. So those are my predictions. To summarise, we've got Poland, Sweden, Serbia, Czech Republic, Estonia, Australia, Azerbaijan, Finland, Romania, and Cyprus qualifying to the final. And the countries that are missing out are Belgium, Ireland, Montenegro, San Marino, Israel, Malta, Georgia, and North Macedonia. So please let me know down below what you guys think. I will stop talking now because my throat is starting to burn me. And please stay tuned for my video tomorrow where I will be reacting to the announcement of the qualifiers. And consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll see you soon. Bye.